And welcome back. This is the great classic rock debate, and I'm Kenny.
I'm Steve.
We talk anything and everything classic rock. We try to keep it interesting. We try to have fun. If you're watching right now, please like, comment, and subscribe. We will love you for that. Today is Thursday, November 7th. It is 2 days since November 5th, Election Day. And we're not a political show. We don't do the political thing here. However, we all have pretty strong political opinions. So what we're going to do tonight, because it's so fresh right after the election. In fact, I'm going to title tonight's video, The Great Classic Rock Debate Election Edition, So what we'll do is we'll weave in some election commentary, but we'll try not to get too overtly political. I'm going to put this right out front. Well, I'm a registered independent. I don't know if you're registered, but we definitely lean right. And we definitely both voted for Trump. So we'll just say that now in case somebody says, okay, I'm turning it off now. But we're not going to be nasty with it. So,
Yeah, I'm a registered Republican, so I can vote in the primaries, but I'm typically probably more libertarian.
Okay, yeah, very good. Yeah, you know what? For years, I have described myself that way. I say I'm a registered independent, but ideologically, I fall more in line with libertarians. The reason I've never registered as a libertarian is because they don't have a realistic shot of ever winning.
No.
So I just stay independent.
It's part of being a libertarian. It's really about self-reliance. So we're not really good at like organizing.
You know what? That's a fair point.
Yeah,
that's a fair point. Okay, so let me start with this. So historically, music artists, especially within the rock genre, have been very politically overt in weaving political messages into their songs. Sometimes they'll do it in a more subtle way, and other times they just beat you over the head with it. But it's a common practice. In fact, I should just say artists in general, not just music artists, because movies, that's also art, and movies are very political with their messaging. And we'll touch on that without getting too deep.
Especially now, over the last couple of years, probably
well, listen, 20 years ago, okay, I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but 20 years ago, in the years after the Iraq War had started, they were putting out new movies every week. These things lost so much money because nobody was seeing them. And I was just like, wow, you guys and your agenda, it's like, it doesn't even make sense. But anyway, what I was going to say is, when I Googled, I just wanted to get a sort of a list of songs, of political songs in my head to start with. And the first thing I noticed was more than 90% of them are anti-war songs. Okay. Yep. That probably started back in the Vietnam era, but it still continues to this day, because anytime we get involved in some kind of a war, people supported it first. And then as the months go by and that turns into years, patience gets thin, and then people start to oppose it. And then when they do, you get music artists, rock artists who start making anti-war songs, trying to turn sentiment more strongly against the war. Is that a fair way of putting it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And I know that 1970 was the year of Edwin Starr and War, What Is It Good For? Okay, which went to #1 on the charts. It was a huge hit. But in the years since then, there have been so many anti-war songs. And Steve, tell me if this is fair or not, because I don't want to be too overly critical, and at the same time, we pride ourselves in always being honest. In my opinion, it's kind of a gutless move. And what I mean by that is, artists, generally speaking, whatever type of art you make, artists tend to be pushing the envelope. They tend to step out and not take the comfortable path. They like to push the envelope with their art and be controversial. But when you start making songs that are anti-war, when millions and millions and millions of people are already marching in the street being anti-war. That's not courageous. It's kind of like
No,
jumping on a bandwagon.
and neither is it really. You're not making a statement because nobody is pro-war unless you are
Right,
like a
right,
maybe Putin, but I
right,
mean,
right.
so yeah, I never really I got it during the Vietnam era because it was really a protest to essentially the draft for the most part, and
Correct, correct. Yeah,
but nobody is saying like if you're making a song about Ukraine and the war in Ukraine, like
right,
no, nobody's it's not going to change people's minds.
right. But with Vietnam, and I think this is probably true of most wars, when it first started, the American public, just as a whole, was supportive. If our boys are going off to fight somewhere, we're going to be patriotic and support them. But as it drags out and drags out, and then bodies start coming home, people turn against it. So
Yeah, that happened with the Iraq War as well.
definitely. Okay. So anyway, so here's where I'm going with all this. So as I'm looking at different songs with overt and strong political messages, I'm finding myself sort of shying away from the anti-war songs. Number one, it's kind of predictable, and number two, I just think it's kind of gutless. It's not a courageous thing to do. There have been some great songs, but I don't find that they're not taking any risks when they do it. They're not risking their careers when they do it. So
No,
I'm
especially again, yeah, maybe 60 years ago, 50, 60 years ago, back in
right,
the
right.
classic rock era, but
Okay,
certainly not now.
so I'm going to tell you what for me is just the ultimate rock song. And by the way, this is a great song. Some songs are better and some aren't, but great song. But it's the ultimate rock song with a really powerful political message, and it's timeless. There's never a time that this message won't be important and won't be thought provoking. And the song is by The Who. You want to take a guess?
Oh, I don't know now. Yeah.
Okay. Um, uh, we won't get fooled again.
Well, well
Okay.
that was
Right. Okay.
that was going to be so.
So for me, it's the best political song ever. Now, I'm gonna give my understanding of how this song came into being, and I think it was Paul who told me. And if I leave out any details, please feel free to jump in. But in the '60s, when the Who first started out, and they became popular relatively quickly because you had the Beatles first, and then you had other British bands popping up, young guys, good looking guys. Their songs were catchy, but they still had good rock uh, elements, good rock substance. And so the Who were catching on. And so some British politician whose name I do not know, I'm going to guess it was Lord somebody, he he thought to himself, these guys, they could be the next Beatles because they were rising rapidly and they were popular with the youth, and he had aspirations for higher office. So he recruited them. He went to them and sold himself as the answer to all their prayers. I'm going to guess that this guy probably had Clinton-esque political skills because Bill Clinton, one of the most gifted politicians of my lifetime, this guy could speak to a room of 50 pro-lifers and 50 pro-choicers, and every last person would walk out saying, he's on my side. He's on
Yeah.
my side on this issue. Guy was gifted. So this guy got in touch with the members of The Who and said, hey, I want you guys to be my pitchmen to the younger people, the youth of Great Britain. And let me tell you why you should believe in me and what I plan to do. And he just blew smoke up their butts and sold them a truckload of baloney. And they were young. We've all been young, and they didn't have much of a depth of understanding of politics. So whatever he told them, they believed it, and it sounded good. So they got out there and spread the word and told everybody, vote for this guy. He's the greatest thing since sliced bread or whatever. And they really put their names and their faces and their reputation out there for this guy, who then got elected and went back on everything that he said and turned out to be immensely unpopular. And at least for a period, they had to carry some of the shame for that up until this guy was out of office. And moving forward from there, they kind of decided we don't ever want to be involved in political movements again. But the song itself, We Won't Get Fooled Again, is just a blunt statement of how he fooled us, and we were young and we were stupid and we went along with it, and we put ourselves out there, and man, did we regret it. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Please feel free to comment.
No, that's very interesting because I never once did I really associate the Who with, anti-war
Right,
messaging, and that
right,
would have been the one song that I would have guessed because we
right.
won't be fooled again. But it's very interesting that story. I would say that I'm not one. I'm not a big person for lyrics, and so I generally don't even think about the lyrics and what they mean. And a lot of times, it's not until decades later when I actually really realize that what the true meaning of of the lyrics, especially knowing that I'm listening to those songs probably 20 years after, they were first released, especially songs that came out in the late 60s, early 70s. So
Right, right.
very, very interesting. And I'm not one for lyrics. And for me, if I had to pick what I feel is my ultimate like anti-war song,
Go ahead.
and I don't even know if it happened during the Vietnam War, but it's War Pigs by Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
And
it's a great choice.
I'm not even sure if they were really discussing the Vietnam War in general, or if it was really a statement upon just war and how it's conducted in the sense that you're typically having rich, powerful people make decisions
Right.
that impact the lives of poor people and sending them off to die, which
Correct.
was certainly happening during Vietnam. But again, these
Right.
guys were
They
British,
were Brits, right?
and I'm not familiar of their involvement in the Vietnam War. I doubt they had a draft, even if they were. I don't even know if Great Britain was involved in Vietnam.
Yeah,
So
I don't
that
think they
shows
might have
my
sent a few troops. I don't think they were, but that sentiment, though, and you did a great job there of explaining it, that is always going to apply to virtually any war that any nation ever gets involved in. You're going to have wealthy guys sitting in elite offices sending young, not wealthy guys off to fight and perhaps sacrifice their lives. So, man,
sure,
is
yeah,
there a giant disconnect there? And of course, Fortunate Son here
yeah,
embodied the same principle.
yeah. Which, if I can just read the lyrics from War Pigs,
Please
just a
do.
couple
Yeah.
real quick. To me, this is again, I'm not a lyrics guy, but this is some of the most brilliant lyrics that I for the time, especially. Generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Again, embodies Black Sabbath, the band Sabbath.
Right.
Evil minds that plot destruction, sorcerer of death's construction. I love how that rhymes. I love how it flows, and just the image that it conveys to me. And here comes Paul or Rodney.
This, well, we call him Paul, but he identifies here within the universe of the great classic rock debate as Rodney. Can you hear us, Paul?
You can hear us.
Okay. So listen, we're glad that you made it. We've been talking about Won't Get Fooled Again. As a matter of fact, we've kind of covered it, but before we go any further, why don't we just go ahead and open the floor to you? And so I started by just saying, for me, I find the anti-war songs, there's a lot of them, but because ultimately I find them to be sort of gutless. And nobody is risking their careers by making an anti-war statement. Okay. So there's been lots of anti-war songs over the decades. So I'm looking for songs that are not necessarily anti-war protest songs. Again, nothing against those, but I was looking for songs that were just more straightforward political. My choice is Won't Get Fooled Again, because I think the message is timeless. It can apply to, I mean, the song is from 50 years ago, but it can apply to any time at all. And I told a little story, which I think you told me, of how that song came into being.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and the part of the refrain is meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Right?
And I think that's a version of uh Hail Caesar, death to Caesar, I forgot how that goes. When the
Or is it the king is dead, long live the king?
Right.
yes, thank
Right.
you. John Wick and you know every other movie. I'm trying to think of other political songs. I first of all, I love Won't Get Fooled Again. It just shows that any politician is going to lie to you. They're going to say what you want, and
Right.
they're going to use you for 5 seconds.
Right.
Of
But
course.
but this is where one of the reasons I really wanted to talk about that song is because I think it is very apropos to what happened 2 days ago. All right. So in 2020, okay, Paul, I also said that I don't know if you're registered or not. I'm a registered independent. Steve's a registered libertarian. Did you say, Steve?
Registered Republican, really, so I can vote in the primaries, but I'm really
Okay.
at core probably a
That's right.
libertarian.
That's right. So, Paul, are you registered as a party or just independent?
Republican, yeah, in
Okay. Okay.
Tennessee, yeah.
So, anyway, although this show is not political and we're not going to be overtly political, our leanings are definitely to the right. No question about it. We're older white guys. That's how we roll. So we're going to have some election commentary without trying to savage the opposition. But I do believe that 4 years ago in 2020, you had Trump was president. He's coming off of this COVID thing, and there's all of the associated turmoil with that, masks, vaccinations, the economy took a dive. It was coming back.
Russia,
Correct. So I think that it was very convenient for his opponent, in this case, Biden, to step in and blow smoke up the butts of the American public and say, this guy's a screw up. He's a mess. He's created all kinds of chaos. I'm the guy to come in and fix it. Okay. And I was Barack Obama's vice president. I've been in Washington forever. You guys know me. I'm a great guy. I'm like your uncle or whatever. So I think it was fairly easy for him to convince the American public, not some of us, but still, there's a lot of independents out there. I think it was very easy for them to say, you know what, everything he says makes sense. And we have been through some turmoil now over the past year with Trump. So I'm not, besides Trump tweets mean things. So I'm not.
I can at least understand the mindset of some people.
There's a certain logic to it, right? Okay. So they say, okay, because listen, Paul, you know my good friend Walter. Well, he's your friend too. Walter told me, he said, I voted for Trump in 2016, and in 2020, I voted for Biden. So after I got done beating the hell out of him, I said, what are you talking about? No. So, but I'm telling you, that's a fairly normal brain function there. Like, okay, I'm not sure anymore about this guy, but this guy's presenting something new. I'm going to take a chance and go with him. So, and this is evidenced, in my opinion, by 15 million fewer votes that she got 2 days ago than Biden got 4 years ago. You had a bunch of people saying, oh, you fooled me once, but I won't get fooled again. You know, that's my opinion. People went along with it 4 years ago, and this time around said, nope. Yeah. I bought your sales pitch 4 years ago, not doing it now. So, and I think the results speak for itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
I,
sums it up perfectly.
I told you the other day, they're taking those people who did the cheating in 2020 and then try to cheat again. They're taking a big risk because if Trump wins, they're going to go to jail and hopefully worse,
Yeah.
right? And that
Yeah.
only worked when if their side won because think about it, was 100, 200 cases sent to, not one judge in this country had the guts to
Correct.
take
To
any of
take
these
it.
things, and it's whatever the 15 million votes. And so every judge, including the Supreme Court, is complicit in what happened in 2020.
I
Everybody.
agree. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. So and also Steve and I talked about before you came aboard. Right now, with this extended day after day after day vote counting that's going on in Arizona and Nevada both, it certainly gives the appearance of impropriety.
Of course
I
it
don't
does.
want to make accusations. The information is going to come out. Last time it felt like no one was really prepared for what amounted to fraud. This time they're not only prepared for it, everything's under a microscope this time. So it's whatever they're
and it goes
trying to
back to
do.
what I'm saying. If you're going to kill the king, you better kill the king.
Yep, that's my point exactly, Steve. That's
And
it.
they failed to do that.
Right, right. They just got his ear. They didn't kill him. So anyway, so Paul, you're in the chat now. Got any songs off the top of your head, political songs that we could throw into the mix?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny how you um
Oh,
like
listen. I apologize. I'm going to interrupt real quick because I read this today and I was so blown away by it. I said I have to tell you guys this. Okay, I think the three of us will agree that one of the greatest rock anthems of all time is "The Boys Are Back in Town," right?
sure.
Oh my God, it was written initially as an anti-war anthem. The boys being soldiers returning home. So one of the guys at the record company heard it and said, "I love the song, but the lyrics are shite."
A shite.
Right, right. So there's nobody coming home from war in '76. Go back and do something different. That song was not even going to go on the album. So they went back
Wow.
and reworked the lyrics and made it like a gang, you know,
Yeah.
and the
I
rest
always
is history. Isn't
That's
that a
funny.
great story?
It is. I never associated that as a war song or anti-war song.
Anti-war song. Yeah, that's how it started. That's how it started. Okay, Paul, I interrupted. I apologize. Go
No,
ahead.
no, it's okay. I just trying to think of, like Leonard Skinner had that album Gods and Guts, and they had This Ain't My America. Remember that song? It's a good song.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to remember other overtly political songs.
Born
Like
well,
not
Born in the USA is probably the
yes,
most famously misconstrued
Right.
correct.
song of all time.
Right.
Kenny did
Right.
his Mr. West Palm Beach to that
I
song.
opposed to that. Yeah. So let me add this. I'm always going to like the song,
Oh,
and I appreciate what he's saying about how the veterans came back from Vietnam and were not just mistreated, but practically spit on by the
yes.
country that they were serving, that they were representing. So that's
By people on his side, by the way.
what's that?
By people on Bruce Springsteen's
Oh, yeah,
political
exactly.
side.
But there should always be a real sense of shame for that. But at the same time, I want to include he wasn't risking anything by making that song. Okay, I love the song, but he wasn't risking anything. It wasn't controversial. It's a message that people by the mid '80s were ready to embrace. I mean, just like Stallone's message with the Rambo movies, same thing.
Well,
The
a
biggest
song that I know is very political, but it's not America. It's called "Stand or Fall" by The Fix.
Yeah, it's a great song.
And
Yeah,
it's talking about this apocalyptic future,
yeah,
and they'll we hope we die with you, and the son says there'll be nothing to do to because we'll all be dead. But then the line that makes me mad at the song, he says, "Red or blue, what's the difference?"
right. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
he wants to
You
get
know,
communist.
in the '80s, the whole world was so afraid that Reagan was a madman, you know. So a lot of the European rock artists made songs with that messaging that we got to prepare for this nuclear war in which we're all going to be wiped out or whatever, The song Forever Young by Alphaville That's what that's about. That's exactly. I love that song, but that's what it's about.
Really?
Yeah,
Again,
Oh,
no idea. You know,
that's
I'm 8 years old when that song comes out,
yeah,
so
that's what it's about.
if you wanted me to kill myself and you didn't want to use violence against me, you just play that song Forever Young and 99 Luft Balloons over and over.
That's another one. Yeah.
I have to make a confession. I just listened to Forever Young about an hour ago.
Really?
That song makes me
Yeah.
want to kill myself.
Now
I hate
I like it, but make no mistake about it. That's what it's about. It's about the impending nuclear apocalypse. The madman they talk about in the song is Reagan. That's the, you know,
I'm gonna have now. I gotta go back and
yeah. Go
re-listen
back.
to it.
Give you a whole new. I still like it, but that's what it's about. Make no
I mean,
mistake about it.
but if you
Guys, we're down to about our last 2 minutes here, so you know,
Kenny, we got to
well,
announce it now, and now we're going to bomb the hell out of the Russians. Okay.
right. Okay, I said 2 minutes. It's more like 6 minutes. My mistake. But
if you want to
yeah,
find a pro kind of Western democracy song that took place in the 80s, the Scorpions.
which song?
And why am I blanking on the name of the Ch Winds of Change?
Okay, that would be
That was all
90
about
or
the fall.
91.
Yeah, and that
But
was
you're
all about
right.
the fall of the Berlin Wall.
You're
And
right. And that I love the song and the message is awesome because the end of communism was happening right before our eyes. And these guys were practically, you know,
it's
commemorating
just
it.
a shame
Germans.
that
Yeah.
it's a shame that people that are, you know, in their early 20s, I guess maybe it's the millennial generation, just did not, they don't have an understanding of what happened in the Soviet Union.
No, they don't. No, they don't. They're so quick to embrace socialism because as an idea, it sounds great.
Yeah.
You know?
Everything's free. Everybody gets the same amount of stuff. It all works out.
Yeah. Yeah. As I think Margaret Thatcher said, the only problem with it is eventually you run out of other people's money.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now it's interesting you brought that up. See, Kenny, you brilliantly brought that up because now you're getting into the Sex Pistols and
Okay.
how they were raging against the British government. And Johnny Rotten was totally anti Margaret Thatcher. But when she died, he goes, okay, that's it. The woman's dead. No more of her. We'll go to somebody else.
Oh.
We're not bashing a dead woman. So
Okay.
and I remember Leiden came out on more on our side, before.
Yes.
Right. Right.
And
There is a subset of rock stars. And if you think about it, rock is supposed to be, you're supposed to, I don't want like using the term Rage Against the Machine, who are the biggest hypocrites on the face of the earth. And I like their music. But you would think if you want to rebel, you're going to be a conservative. In
here.
Right. Right. Yeah.
That's right, Steve.
So real rockers today would be conservative.
Yeah.
That's how I knew. Like, there weren't any. Now, you guys could correct me. Were there any real anti Afghanistan war songs? There weren't.
I don't think so.
No, at the time, I think everybody was behind that war because of what happened on 9/11.
No,
It wasn't
ahead.
until the Iraq War where you started seeing the splintering of.
But still no songs. Like,
No, but lots of movies, but no songs.
there's
Maybe
there's a. Go
I
ahead.
would say maybe the best pro America song out there was the theme song to Team America World Police.
Yes, I agree. America, blank, blank.
And not the AIDS song either.
A
Right.
freedom costs $1.05. If you don't pay your $1.05, who will? You know what we're talking about, right, Kenny?
I saw the movie. I mean, I saw it with you actually, but it's been years. So
You gotta watch it. You gotta make your wife watch it. It's 90% profanity, but it's very funny.
okay,
It's
she'll
like
struggle with that.
America, blank, yeah, we're here to kick your blank. And they're like ships coming, fighter jets coming out of the heads of out of Mount Rushmore. It's just like if you were going to do a parody of everything, that would be like
Right.
What a conservative wet dream.
Right, right.
There are three kinds of people, Chuck. That's as far as I can go.
Yeah, I
And
don't know what your wife would think about it, so probably.
yeah, I'll be careful with that one. Also, just for political, Neil Young had lots and lots of political songs, and so did Don Henley.
Like what? What did Don Henley say? Save the whales.
Well, you know that his whole reason for living throughout the 80s was his hatred for Reagan. I mean, he hated him. So
Yeah,
the end of the innocence was really just targeting Reagan. He used a lot of metaphors or whatever, but he really hated Reagan. So that
He wasn't a fan of the media either. I mean, I think his probably biggest
dirty
solo
laundry.
was Dirty Laundry, which was
okay, yeah, but hold on a second. You got to have context now. He hated how the media treated him.
Oh, that's true.
Because of a particular incident.
You got
yeah. I mean, he probably adored the media as long as they were attacking Reagan or whoever. But hey, guys, you don't turn on me. No. That's not part of the plan. So he was caught in a hotel room with a 17-year-old who he was having sex with and doing cocaine. And the media reported it fairly honestly. And so he was furious. So he wrote a song about the media.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But back in the 80s, the songs, even if they were political, for the most part, there was a lot of subtext, and they weren't overtly political.
That is correct.
Like, people of both sides could enjoy it. Nowadays, if you were to make a overtly political song, like I'm turning the channel,
right?
Yeah,
turning it off.
Even the Boys of Summer has a subtle political theme to it there. I think we talked about that before. Yeah. Okay, we are officially down to 2 minutes now. So any final thoughts or whatever, and we'll wrap it up.
I think the best political song was by Cheech and Chong. It was Save Those Whales. Do you remember that? Save those whales. He was shoot them seals, baby. Save them whales. I cannot believe he could sing that without laughing. It's just incredibly funny.
I'm just going to say it's a bit rich for bands like Rage Against the Machine, who are preach about socialism, to say, yeah, come see me, Rage Against the Machine. I'm going to campaign for Obama or whatever and charge you $300 a ticket.
Exactly.
Well, any musical artist, and they're almost all strongly to the left, who make songs condemning capitalism as they're making hundreds of millions of dollars through capitalism.
Yep.
It's the ultimate hypocrisy. Okay.
One other band I want to real quick.
Quickly.
Megadeth has done some good right-wing stuff, and he talks about in his last recent albums. So I want to give Dave Mustaine shout out and love.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Well, then that's going to do it for this week. This is the great classic rock debate election edition. Adding that part. It's the election edition. I'm Kenny.
I'm Worthless Paul.
And I'm Steve.
Yes, if you're watching right now, please like, comment, and subscribe. We will love you for that. Until we meet again, we'll see you next time.